We're going to take a look at three guitars today that are mid-stage modifications. All of these guitars have been in, they've all been in one of my triage videos where I evaluated them and I told you guys what I was going to do and all of that thing. And they are in the mid-stage right now. So in other words, they're at the stage where I have done tuners, boned up, frets. I've done everything up to the point where I'm considering whether or not to scallop them. So really what we're doing here is we're evaluating whether or not I'm going to scallop these guitars. The difficulty with this evaluation for me is that I like to scallop it before I do the neck reset, because when you scallop the braces, you weaken them. That's the purpose of scalloping, is to weaken them, and the top might rise a little bit, the geometry shifts a little bit. I just much prefer to make the decision on scalloping before I do the neck reset. Otherwise, there's a good chance you're going to end up doing the neck reset again. So it's difficult to evaluate them sometimes because this one's pretty good. This is a D28, and this is serial number 297. I'll have to look it up. You can look it up and find out which one it is, but this is one of the ones that I was going to compare. Anyway, this one's set up pretty good. The action is low. It's actually going to have to go up a little bit higher than this. I'm not sure why it's so low right now. If it came in that low, I reduced the relief on it because I refretted. Anyway, it's got a low action on it. This one's not going to need a neck reset. But the other two that we're going to get out are definitely going to need neck resets. Their action is super high. I think I measured it when I left the shop. I measured it about 126, which is an eighth of an inch. Normally, I would set actions at 90 to 93 thousandths of an inch. These are 126 to 130. So they're 50% higher than I would prefer them to be. I can't even play 126, and it'll be out of tune as you go to fret because the strings are so high off the fingerboard. So my point is, it's really hard to evaluate a guitar like that because it plays so difficultly. But what we're going to do is we're going to try to listen to the tone of the strings. This is the D28, and over here, waiting in the wings, I've got that fully modified mid-70s D28 that I like so much, and I've been using it for a comparison model. So we're going to compare this non-scallop guitar to the fully modified, fully done, and I'm going to show you the differences that I'm listening for in the tone. Okay? So with all that being said, let's listen to this guitar a little bit, and then I'm going to compare it to the standard modified 70s. And so this guitar's got the tuner work done. It's got a roughed in bone nut here that I haven't finished, and you can see that it's still overhanging the edges quite a bit, but the height is good. I did that so I could see what the action was going to be. It's got Evo frets in it, which obviously have not finished here because I didn't know if I was going to do neck reset. And when I do a neck reset, I prefer to finish these frets with the neck off the guitar, so I'm not pounding on them or anything here. It's just easier that way. But it's got enough frets in here that you can evaluate it. It's got plastic pins in it. The bridge is not slotted yet. There's some small differences in tone and stuff that's going to come into there, but that's not really what I'm looking for. That tone difference here is minor. It's important, but it's minor. Same thing with the pickguard. It doesn't have a pickguard on it right now. We picked one out, but I haven't put it on. I'll talk about this real briefly. This is a trick that I use a lot of times. On some guitars, I stain the wood underneath, the bare wood underneath, and then I put my glue finish over it. Okay, so 70s Martins, the pickguard is stuck directly to the wood. So when you replace the pickguard, you take the pickguard off and there's bare wood under there. you're not going to be sticking a new pickguard back on that. So you've got to put some sort of finish in there. Some people put lacquer finish. I don't like lacquer because it takes so long to build up an even finish, and I'm very allergic to raw lacquer. It gives me an instant headache. I use bottled hide glue. It's just, tight bond bottled hide glue. It's a weak hide glue. It glues. It's got a nice brown color to it, which is really good because pickguards look real good on top of that. It makes them look a little bit more like the 60s and the 50s, where they've got that really complex reddish brown look to it that nobody has been able to really duplicate. So, and this pickguard in particular was hard to get off. It came off with it had loss of wood underneath it. So I had to, level it pretty good, put some glue down there. But what I do is stain this with a marker. If you ever wanted to clean it up, you could. You just take hot water and get the glue off of there, and then use your rubbing alcohol and get rid of the color. But you won't. What'll happen is when I put the pickguard down underneath over here, there's going to be a base color underneath there, and it'll really give it that nice 50s and 60s reddish undercurrent. So that's a little trick that I used to do that sometimes, in this case I did because the wood was so damaged underneath it from cracks and splinters, and just that pickguard did not want to come off of there, but it had to because it's causing a crack and it was warping and all that kind of thing. So I needed to do some repair into here so that those cracks and different colors of wood wouldn't show through the pickguard itself. So that's what's going on there. So anyway, the lack of a pickguard affects the tone a little bit, but I think it improves it a little bit. So, God, there's a lot to talk about on this thing. It's what we're actually doing. So we're going to compare this guitar to the finished one, and we're going to listen to the tone, and I'm going to tell you why I think I'm going to scallop it. I've already made up my mind on that, So let's see if I'm roughly in tune. Yeah, good enough, okay? So what I hear there is a non-scalloped harshness, maybe. Let's get the modified one out here and take a look at it real quick, so you can see real quick what I'm talking about. Here's the modified one, fully modified 70s, scalloped X braces only. Got a dark rosewood bridgeplate in it, so it gives it a little bit more complexity. But here we go. Okay, listen to these notes. I really appreciated having that guitar. See, there's that nasal tone that I talk about. Don, 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 don. Well, as opposed to this one is boom, 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 boom. It's open, Listen, don, 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 don. That's what I hear in this. I mean, that's nasally. So. This one. The action's low, so that, there's maybe a little fret rattle going in there, but don't listen to that. Listen to the character of it. It's nasally, There, you see? Boom, it's round coming out of there. I don't know, maybe I'm another person that ever hears this stuff, but that's what I'm listening for. That's all I try to do on the scalloping as the 70s, is get rid of that nasally tone and give it a rounder tone. I don't try to get them boomy, Like if you go back and look at the Flat Picking Friday from 2 weeks ago. There's a D45 on there, authentic. It's an incredible guitar, but it's a forward X, fully scalloped. That guitar is boomy, and when I talk about boominess in a guitar, that guitar is got it in spades. Whereas my 41 authentic does not so much, because it's a rear shifted X brace. And that's why I like a rear shifted X brace, because they're not boomy. I don't like boomy guitars for anything except actually acoustic guitar playing. You know, sitting around at a jam where you can go whop and the boom knocks the banjo player over, and that kind of thing. But for any kind of recording or miking or anything like that, I prefer a non-boomy guitar. So I'm not getting these boomy. I'm trying to get them with a fatter treble sound. And I think I want to, I mean, I know I want to scallop that one. This is what I want out of that guitar. It's got punch on it, and the bass is, it's round. It's round, it's not nasally. That's nasally, you know. The tone of this guitar is good. This one's going to sound really good. It's a 70's. It's got a great neck on it. This one's going to sound really good if the owner lets me scallop it, and I really think he should let me scallop it. And he probably is, because he's told me to do whatever I want to do to it. But I'm just telling you guys so that you can hear what it is, so that you can see what it is that I'm listening for when I'm evaluating scalloping a guitar. And that's what it is. There's these three strings. The E, the A, the D, and to some extent the G. I like the trebles. I like that snap, you know. I don't want to lose that snap, but I want these strings down here and to get rid of that. Aww. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, if the owner left it like this, I wouldn't have a problem in the world with it. It's got a characteristic non-scallop tone to it that probably mics really good, but it can be better, you know, in my opinion. And we're talking just, you know, just turning the dial up a little bit, like that, you know, just to bring up a little bit more of that richness in the tone. So I'm going to recommend scalloping the X braces on this one. I still have a popsicle brace to do. That's going to add a little bit of air to the tone. I got a video on the popsicle brace, and I show you the differences. That's mostly going to affect the B, the open B on up. But that would also lend a little bit of clarity to the bass strings. You know, a little bit of those highs bleed over into the bass strings and adds a little bit of clarity, which is probably not a good idea. Would not be a good idea, in my opinion, to remove the popsicle brace now, because then it's going to get really bright. It's going to take away a little bit of the nasaliness, but it's going to make this guitar really, really bright, which is not what we want to do. We want to dial in just a little bit more of the low end, richen it up, round it out, and then work on the clarity. But anyway, so this is a bridge scoot. This one came out really nice. That bridge has been scooted back 1/8 of an inch, and I got a really good finish blend on it. You probably have a lot of trouble seeing it from here, you know. You have to get up here and you have to look at it and go, oh yeah, it's been scooted. Color match was excellent. That's the way it should come out. This bridge has been thinned down, so it's not a 70's whip anymore. It's a 50's whip, which means I had to take almost no finish off. I'm not sure I take any finish off when I scooted back. I thinned it down a full 1/8 of an inch. You know, it's an 1/8 of an inch narrow, makes it punchier right off the bat. So we have made quite a few improvements, in my humble opinion, to the standard 70's, and that's why it doesn't sound like a standard 70's already. It's got the small maple bridgeplate on it. It's got a thinner bridge. It's scooted back so it's in the right place and it plays in tune. It's got new frets on it. It's got a great action. So those things alone improve the stock 70s B28, in my humble opinion, in the tuners. So that's why I said if the owner just left it alone right now, I don't have a problem in the world with that, you know. But I do think there's one more thing that we can do to it, and that lightly scallop the X braces just to richen that bass up a little bit. You see the kind of sound that I'm after. I want that bass to be just a little bit fatter than it is right now. So, alrighty, I'm going to get the other guitars out. I'm not going to talk so much about them. I'm just going to go through them a little bit more quickly, okay? So we'll get them out. Alright, we're back with a D18. And this one is 291. It was in one of the triage videos. This is the one where the pickguard was scooted out of position. And I said, oh man, it looks like he just slapped an aftermarket pickguard on there. So the pickguard's off of there. He had already done the tuners. This is still his nut, which I'm probably going to replace. His frets are in good shape. So what I've done to this one is replace the bridge plate with a small black locust bridge plate. And he has a Madagascar rosewood bridge on here. This is a test micarta saddle. So it's going to give a little bit different tone than bone, but it's close enough that we can tell what's going on here. The bridge is slotted and it's got the final pins in it. So, and the bridge has been scooted. So what we've done on this guitar, as with the other ones really, is the bridge area. Bridge plate, the bridge, the pins, the scooting for the intonation. This one's ready to go. This one's definitely going to need a knuckle set. The action is very, very high. Yeah, it's this action is probably 150. I mean, it's a high action. Here. I know you can't get that on the camera, but, you know. I just want to try to get the strings a little bit. This action is literally twice what that D28 was. So, he's got nickel strings on here, which I don't have a problem with. They're going to be a little bit different tone than phosphors I have. But we're just listening for the basic tone quality of the guitar. You have to learn to listen past the strings, past all the other stuff, to listen to the response. Like it has out the response of the bass tone. So here we go. Well, that's definitely nasally. I mean, that's... And again, the trebles are not too bad because they've got a shorter, waveform. So the nasaliness isn't quite as apparent there. Maybe it's a compression I hear, Maybe compression would be the more technical term. And it's not as obvious on the treble. So just hit a chord. Yeah, this is the bass. It's just, Part of it's the action. I mean, it's just it takes so long to get your finger to the next note, So it's like boom, 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 boom. That's not what I want to hear at all. So I'm gonna say that one needs to be scalloped. Maybe not. Maybe you guys love the tone of that one, but. Here's my shop 72 fully modified Brazilian rosewood bridge, fully scalloped. Let's listen to this one. That sounds so much better to me. So, ringing. I do that on the bass strings. And I'm just hearing so much, again, like on that D20, I had a fatter sound. So, this, you know, like I said, I already made up my mind. These all three need to be scalloped, in my opinion. There have been a few guitars, a few 70s where, you know, I played them and I said, you know, that one sounds pretty good, like it is. You know, I don't think we have to scallop this one. You know, there's, you know, a handful of them. I don't know what the difference is. The tops on those, maybe the top woods are softer. They still had the tight, punchy sound, but they weren't as nasally sounding. I thought the bass sounded really good, and I thought, you know, this could stay. But this one, scallop. It needs to be scalloped, and it needs to have the neck reset, and then it gets the popsicle brace out, gets a new pickguard, and then, you know, it's almost done. And I don't think I'm doing fretwork on this one. I might replace a couple or smooth them up. The frets look really good. And then I believe the neck relief was really good on this one. Yeah, the neck relief was decent. So I thought, yeah, what I thought I might do was pull 5 frets, take the neck relief down just a little bit, and then replace the first 5 frets, which is, I think, all it needs. You know, and that would be a pretty good way to do that one. So, but anyway, there we go. Let's get the last one up. It's going to be the same story all over again. So, you know, but we'll see. All right, here's guitar number 3. This one is a 77 D18. I called it a 79 on the first video, just brain slip. And that's the bridge pins in there. That's the final bridge pins in there rattling around. It's just got plastic bridge pins in here. And I do this a lot of times to make sure that I know that these are not the final bridge pins, as I put the wrong pins in there, like white pins on a D18, and then I know that they're... let me get that out of there. It's going to drive it out of your nuts. I think there's just some bridgeplate in there. No, there's just the pins. Come on out of there, guys. Watch this. This is how Pro does this. And there you go. Yeah, there's pieces of bridgeplate material in there still. So, okay, anyway. This one still has the stock tuners on it, so that's going to add a little bit of sustain to the sound. So it's going to take away a little bit of the nasal tone, but I think you'll still hear it. Heavy tuners will add sustain that kind of evens out that nasally tone. It's still got the nut that it came with, and the spacing is way wacky on this. I just haven't had time to do it yet like I did on the other one. I did the bridge on this one yesterday, and so this one's not quite as far along as the previous D18. And by the way, on that other previous one, I said it was a Madagascar. I'm wrong. That's a Grenadillo bridge on that guitar. Because that customer wants a deeper bassy sound. So again, I know he's going to scallop that one. But I used a Grenadillo. This customer didn't express a preference for that deeper sound. I used a Madagascar rosewood, which I think is a really good bridge. It's great. It's just good wood. It's bright, but it's also rich sounding. Brazilian can get a little bit too bright. Like I have a Brazilian rosewood on my shop D18, and it had a Grenadillo on it before. I prefer the Grenadillo. I think it was a meatier, more powerful sound. And I fixed it because the original bridge that was on that, the pins were spaced off. I messed up on it. It drove me crazy. So I ended up putting a Brazilian so I could compare, and I prefer the Grenadillo. I feel like Madagascar splits the differences really, really well. Madagascar looks great, and it looks really good on this guitar. It matches this real good. So anyway, that's why I choose the different bridge woods. Just if a customer says, yeah, I really want that thick, bassy sound, then okay, I'll go with the Grenadillo. And if he wants a brighter sound, then we're going to go with Madagascar Or if you want a really bright sound, I'm going to go with Honduran rosewood, which is probably a little too bright for most people. So this is Madagascar. I love Madagascar rosewood. I think it looks great. And this again has a micarta saddle, test saddle in it. The action on this guitar is pretty high. I think I measured this one last night at like 125, and it needs to be 93. The saddle height is just about perfect, so it's got to have neck reset. We've got to evaluate whether or not to scallop it before I do that neck reset. So here's what this one sounds like. Yeah, that A is terrible to me. Honk. You hear that when it first comes off the chord, right up in there. It's just nasally. That's the best constipated. It's just not rich. The trebles sound good. They always do, but it's this bass here. Ugh, It's just, it's like playing a cheap guitar. It's like playing a plywood guitar. It just doesn't have the ring to it that I want to hear out of it. What's in this guitar? It's a shop guitar. What's it got rattling around in there? Piece of tape. Where'd that come from? Piece of tape and a dead moth. Huh. I don't ever remember using brown tape on there. There we go. So. That note, That's what I want to hear. God, you guys are probably all laughing, going, "Ha ha! The other system sounds better." It's just a honky. Gonna sound good. Got a good neck on it. It's 18, right? Yeah. It's got a great neck for a D18. Chunky. So, this is gonna get scalloped. Pretty sure the owner's gonna approve scalloping on this one. So, anyway, I just wanted to show you, summarize all this. I just wanted to show you what it's like evaluating these guitars in mid-modification process. This is the stage at which I decide if I'm going to modify, if I'm going to scallop it, how much I'm going to scallop it, what the guitar sounds like now. This is where I make the decision about scalloping before, I have to scallop it before I do the neck reset. I try to get the guitar, and this is going to get tuners and everything, pretty quick here, and the nut and the frets, and these frets are good, and these frets are nothing's going to happen to these. So I make this decision now. I get the guitar as close as I can. Then I decide the scalloping. Do the scalloping, let it sit for a week or two, whatever, for it to settle in, and then I do the neck reset. The neck reset's the last thing I do. Well, the last thing I do is the final saddle. But I always have a saddle on there that is approximately where I want it to be. So here's this one. And that's approximately where that saddle is going to be. That way I can set the neck to that saddle and it'll be an accurate neck reset. It's been scalloped, it's had the bridgeplate done, and I would be resetting the neck to that final thing. So this is the stage which I evaluate for scalloping. And like I said, there's only been a few 70s that I've said, no, I don't think I want to scallop that one. I think that one's pretty good. I don't know what it is about that. I don't know what's different about those. I don't know if it's the spruce is weaker or whatever. But there's been a few I said, these are pretty good, But generally, especially on D18s, especially, I'm going to go, I want to scallop that one, Even if you go back and look at the Friday flat picking video, and I had that 63 D21 on there, as good as that guitar sounded, and it was tremendous, but 70% of that, maybe 75, a lot of that guitar for me was the neck and the setup and the way it responded. It just was such a pleasure to play. But if it was a non-collectible guitar, I would scallop the braces on that. I would scallop the X braces just a little because it had the nasally bass. In that guitar's case, you could live with it because it was original and it sounded tremendous. It was a great sounding guitar. But as I played it, especially when I first hit the first strum, it was like, oh, nasally bass, Now that guitar, that 63 D21, would cut like a knife in a jam. In a band situation, that nasal wouldn't be as apparent. The band would hide it, and what you would hear would be the cut of that guitar. I try not to lose that cut, That's why I don't want the boomy, because the boomy doesn't cut. The boomy puts an underwash of sound under there, and like I said, you feel the percussion. You feel that percussion. It's like going to see the Rolling Stones in concert versus watching a DVD. When you're there in concert, and you get rocked back by the sound, you feel the percussion. And that's what a boomy guitar does in an acoustic situation, is you feel the percussion. But in a recording situation or behind a microphone, even on stage, you don't feel the boom of the actual guitar, and what you feel is the boom of the speakers. And in that case, guitar that records well and mics well is going to come through better. It's going to cut through better. You're going to hear the guitar better. And so the recording and the acoustic situation are two completely different things. So I'm just saying that on almost every non-scalloped brace guitar, I would want to scallop the X braces, just the X braces, just a little bit. Just a little bit of curve on there to get rid of that nasally bass without losing the punch. It's a fine line to walk, However, if you stick with just the X braces, and as long as you don't over-scallop the things, it's generally a pretty safe proposition. What you're dialing in is the amount of bass that you want, that you're going to get from it. It's the tone bars and the position of the X that give it the boom. So on my shop D18, I scalloped the whole thing, and in retrospect, I probably wouldn't do that again. But again, I never over scallop. So even though I wouldn't scallop the tone bars again, I didn't over scallop them. So I don't regret anything, and I'm certainly not going to go in there and take the bars out and change them. It's just that if I'd done it again, I probably would have just scalloped the X braces and played it for about 5 years. And then said, do I want to touch the tone bars or not? Because I feel like I lost just a little bit of cut on that guitar as opposed to some of these other really great D18s that have been coming through the shop. However, you also got to keep in mind that shop D18 was probably one of the worst D18s I have ever had come through the shop when it came in. I took it on trade for work, and it was a dog. And when I got it, I thought, man, this is going to be interesting because I'm going to see if I can actually make it into a good guitar or not. I've been really happy with it. I like it a lot. It's a great guitar. But when I hear that little bit of lacking quality, that could be from the original guitar being a dog. And why it's a dog, I don't know in particular. But it was really one of the deadest, dullest, thuddiest, most uninteresting D18s I've ever had come through the shop. The saving grace on that guitar was the neck. The neck is fabulous. I absolutely love the neck on that guitar. And like I said, that's 75% of it for me is the neck and the playing ability. That guitar plays great. And like I mentioned before, it has this smoky smell to it. And I said, it smells like a tobacco barn in Kentucky. I went to high school in Kentucky. That's what it has. It's got that rich, earthy, curing tobacco smell. It's a nice smell. I mean, it smells great. It smells great. Every time I pick it up, I get that whiff. And I'm like, that smells good. Again, it has a great neck. And it plays terrific. And it's light. So, those are all redeeming qualities. But I'm just saying that I have to remember that every time I say, man, I wish the sound was a little... I got to remember what that guitar was when it came in. And I am nitpicking here, hair splitting like crazy, because it's a terrific guitar. When I sold all of my shop guitars, this is the one I kept. So, I mean, that says a lot right there, Anyway, point is, I think this is going to be a really good D18 here. It's got a great neck on it. I'm going to do the tuners. I'm going to do the nut. This one's going to get scalloped. And it's going to be a really good D18. It's getting a new pickguard too, I think. I just haven't got this one off. This one's still very much in progress. But I like my bridge. And this one's had a bridge scoot too. Let me show you that one. You can just see, you can see the line right there, but that's what a good bridge scoot should look like. It gets up under there and it's in the shadow of the bridge. It's just not that obvious, Look at it from here, Just not that obvious. It puts the bridge back on the right spot on the X braces. It's a good thing to do. That also is a 50s width bridge, which I always do. This particular guitar's got some cool bear claw going on in it, which is neat. So this finish is in great shape compared to some of the other 70s, and so. All right.